Hi guys, welcome to the update video for the Sci-Fi II Kickstarter. This is going to be a really quick video, which means it's going to be massively long because I can't stop talking, okay? And I want to answer just a few of your questions, talk about compatibility, and generally just, show you a little bit more of what you might not have seen so far, okay? So, some of the things we're going to cover. First of all, I need to say a massive thank you to everybody. This is by far the best campaign we've run to date. Okay, we're far ahead funding wise than any other. I know things change very quickly, but this is really good so far. So thank you very much, guys. What an absolute storm. We have got a few things to talk about. I'm going to talk about compatibility, which I know is something that you guys really wanted to talk about, which is really good. I've got my little cue card here. Okay, I'm going to talk about the Outland pledge a little bit as well, so just give you a bit more information on that. I'm going to talk about very briefly how to use this in game as well. There's probably some questions about measurement and grids and all sorts of things, so I'll cover a couple of that and maybe have a little bit of fun with some add-ons. I will try and keep it as short as possible, but I do talk rather a lot. First of all, let me just tell you what I've got here. Basically, I've got a great big setup. I've got 2 mats worth of Wastelands mat. And then I've got a very simple build at this side, which I've incorporated a couple of add-ons to. And I can't quite fit this on my table. This is technically a 6-foot setup, but my table's a bit less than 6 foot, so the mat kind of falls off the end. So this complex here is a little bit smaller. Okay, but it doesn't help me to kind of show you what's going on. Okay, so first and foremost, let's talk about this bit here, this setup. We are looking at here just one of the Outland pledges, okay? So what I've done is, because it was really crammed on that mat, I've put a second Wastelands mat down and I've just spread it out a bit so it's got a little bit more room to breathe, as it were. And as you can see, it really dominates 2 mats quite easily, okay? There's a lot of card. Okay, a lot of sheets of card that go into making each of these buildings, and so if you can imagine each building, you've got your roof here, and then there's a floor in there. There's also floors all the way across the bottom. There's floors all the way through here. You've seen the video, so you know. It's very card dense, so it uses up quite a large amount of pledge. But the buildings are compact and they're packed, absolutely packed. Okay, and as with all our terrain, you can basically go inside every single building, you can interact with everything, lift off every roof and so on. We know all of that, that's great. What I've done is I've just spread it out over 2 mats to give you a bit more of a feel of, how it might breathe on the battlefield. And that, gives me the ability to, move my characters around and roll dice and so on and so forth, as it were. Okay, we're going to make this Wastelands mat available as an add-on as well. So if you want to do a spread like this, no problem at all. You can basically grab one of those and do that. That's no problem. Okay, so here you go. That's a nice setup. What we've done at this end is we've then got this, and I'm going to come around for this. We've then got this lovely little setup here, and it's what I've done is I've taken the arrivals bay here, okay. And I've set up a very small version of it, okay. This is just, I guess kind of half the size really. You can make this you can make this an extra wall length wide, and also you can extend it up to 3 levels as well. So you can have this huge door here if you wanted to. I've not got a wall on this side so that the camera can get in and have a good good look at what's going on. I've got a little control room up here and some stuff over here, and I'm literally using 2 cameras. I'm going to have to move a camera in a moment, to show you what's going on over there, as it were. Let's first of all just talk about a little bit about compatibility. One of the big questions was, is it going to be compatible? Okay, will I be able to use my old sci-fi? Will I be able to use my old sci-fi set with this sci-fi set, and how will that basically work? Well, let's talk about scatter items first of all, because that's really important. What you can do is you can take scatter items. Okay, that's all these little crates and bits and pieces from your other sets. Okay, not just the original sci-fi, but from the urban and shantytown. I guess even the dungeon, if you want to have some real fun. Okay, and they are compatible with this set. So I'm just going to pop around here and grab a couple of those. Okay, and I've left this quite sparse so that you can see what I'm doing. I'm going to grab here some cargo crates from the original Sci-Fi. So I'm going to put those on there. Okay, so I've got a load of those. And if we're talking about crates, then we've also got the crates from the Urban Apocalypse as well. And you can stuff all of those in there. We've got different ones of those. We've got these flight case ones here. And we've got, I don't know if this is in camera at the moment, we've got the one that comes with the police set, and we've got this like aluminium style case, and you can really have a lot of fun with that. So yeah, so we've got all these crates here. I've taken this loader, okay, this platform loader, of which I think you get 3 of these guys with the actual pledge. You might notice very similar, they're very similar to the lifts. Okay, the texture's been changed and it makes this platform. This is really good because you can really mess around with this and have kind of different options for your loader. So this loader could be something that you can pile your crates inside and have it as your your extra storage, as it were. And then this guy can sort of move around or whatever. Okay, so there's a lot of fun straight away that you can have just with messing around with these particular items. Vice versa, you can remove this arm and you could turn that over and have a different textured lift if you wanted. And again, that adds variety. The tooling is the same. It's not the same tool that cuts it, but the shape is the same. And so you can actually have different textures for the lift, which is absolutely fantastic. Okay, and again, all these little crates and everything. These are the same size, to the same scale as the other ones, and so they blend in. The Sci-Fi crates are a little bit different. That's our very first ones. They don't open or anything, but again, totally fine to be used in this set. Okay, let's just move some of those out of the way for a second. Even things like the pallets. Okay, you might think, well, crate's got to have a pallet, hasn't it? You might have a Sci-Fi, thing, but it'll sit on a pallet, as it were. Okay, and so you've got these little pallets. You could probably, stick one in there and have that claw holding onto that and what have you. Okay, so first and foremost, you've got that kind of compatibility. What else have I got? Of course, things like this are absolutely compatible. This is our dimension gate, our Sci-Fi dimension gate, and of course this is absolutely compatible, and it's great to have something like that and a big loading bay like that to allow you to transition from one set to another, as it were. Okay, again, another compatible item. All the little scatter things that we've included in our last sets, like the that will probably look good up in the command room, like the little battle tables here. If you've got some of these, lucky enough to grab some of these as well, then you can have the bunks. All of this kind of scatter looks really, really good on this existing terrain, which is fantastic. Some of those items are still available in our web shop. Turbines look fantastic. Okay, original Sci-Fi turbine, urban turbine, not available anymore. A lot of people have got them. These are available in the web shop, so again, it's another option that you can go for. They are completely fine. Okay, medical beds, if you've got those, that's great. You've got all sorts of different options. Even the old Sci-Fi, the original Sci-Fi stairs, they look primitive compared to the new ones, but they're absolutely, the slot sizes and everything are the same. That works really, really well. So from a scatter point of view, you're really covered. You can still quite easily, cordon off areas if this vehicle's being worked on over here. I think you get away with using these little, barriers, which are straight from the Urban Apocalypse range. They don't look out of place on this terrain, as it were. And we've got one of the old Sci-Fi consoles here as well, which is really cool. Just put that in there. There's all sorts of bits and pieces that look really good. If I come back around this side, of course, these little barriers here could also quite easily be used, on this kind of terrain as well. Especially if you're on a wastelands map, a little bit sort of more rundown of an area, as it were. We've got lots of this kind of scatter items here, okay, which are just like bits of corrugated whatever. Okay, and again, these can just be scattered around. They add extra texture. Containers. these containers were part of the Urban Apocalypse as well. And of course, you know, they look really, really good on this setup as well. So you could, you know, stick one of those in there. Turbines look good outside. You know, they're a great objective point to be able to sort of fight through and so on and so forth. So again, things like this look really, really good. What else have we got around here? From the Urban Apocalypse, we've got these police barriers. Turn around if you don't want the police on it, and you've got these really cool kind of concrete sort of riot barriers, if you like. And again, you know, they fit in perfectly with the Outlands or any of these outposts. Look really, really fantastic. Okay. Again, from the shanty town, from the city block as well. You know, we've got this corrugated, modular kind of corrugated barriers here as well. And again, you know, that gives you the ability to really section and wall off areas in addition to your normal blast shielding, as it were. And of course, if you place this really amazing tower just here, again, you've got protection. There's a little blast shield down here. You can stick a guy in there and have him, you know, protected, as well as the person up the top as well. Okay, and I've got a little spider vent which I put on top. Makes a great little kind of different type of sort of CO2 scrubber, if you like, an air scrubber, and so on and so forth. All sorts of different things. The conduits, chairs are fantastic. I've got all the little all these chairs from the Sci-Fi. I've probably got somewhere, there you go, a chair from the Urban Apocalypse. These things as well look fantastic on the set. They really, really just work amazingly. Okay, so from a compatibility point of view, as far as scatter's concerned, no problem at all. As far as joining things together, so if you've got Urban Apocalypse wall and you've got from our very last campaign, and you've got one of our Sci-Fi II walls, they will join perfectly. Shantytown, absolutely no problem at all. Let me grab one of these. This is one of our shanty buildings, or a very small one because I've run out of space, as it were. But you can see straight away that they are. I need to move this bush. Okay, you can see straight away that scale-wise and everything else, of course, they're perfectly fine. Texture-wise, it kind of blends in as well, which is really, really good. And if I want to take some of these walls and connect it onto here to make this building bigger, maybe a back area which was part of an older building, that's fantastic because you know, it will blend and it will connect perfectly. The system we used on the last one is exactly the same as the system that we're using here. So with the Urban Apocalypse, it will join seamlessly. Okay, it's absolutely fine. And of course, just, you know, with the Shantytown, everything, you know, you can get into and so on and so forth. Move that out of the way. Replace scattered bush. Okay, put that on there. The only thing left compatibility-wise then is joining the original Sci-Fi walls to the new Urban Apocalypse walls. Okay, so I'm going to do my best to explain this. It's coming on this side. Let me just remind you, I'm sure you guys who have got the original Sci-Fi don't need a reminder, but here you go. There is an original Sci-Fi wall, okay? And the way that you would normally join walls together with clips, you'd have a clip in here and you clip that on there. And because of these ramps, in order to join one onto the other, or in order to place one against another, what happens is you have to change the ramps to have this different type of ramp, and that allows this wall to go up here. If you take a new Sci-Fi wall and try and join, that doesn't work because this ramp is in the way. Now there's a couple of things you can do. Okay, if you just want to place it in, okay, you can kind of do things like this. Let's move this lass on a bike out of the way. Where can I put you? I'm going to put you over there. Okay. So you could basically do that. Okay, which means that you can kind of, you know, you could put a clip in here and just like get this up to so far, as it were. The best way to do it is if you want to have a Sci-Fi. If you want to have, like, you know, this set and then go off into the older set, the best thing to do is actually to where this old set joins the new set, just have it go onto a flat wall, boom, just like that. Okay, and you imagine this is all built out that way, and then this leads on to something built out that way. you just butt it straight up against it, and there's no issues. There's no, and again, it's seamless. The only difference is it's not clipped to that particular part, which is fine because you've got quite a reasonable size setup anyway, and it doesn't need to be clipped because it's held down by its own weight. Okay, so that works as well. If you're really OCD and you're like, it must be clipped in, otherwise I'm not using it, then there is a little mod you can do, which is really simple. All you do is grab a wall, okay, grab a sci-fi wall, a new sci-fi wall as a template, put those together, okay, so it's nice and neat. Small craft knife and just cut through here to make a new slot just above the other one. Plenty of room there to do that because the only difference is the slot size where it was on the wall. Okay, once you've done that, you will end up with somewhere. I've got one. Yeah, there we go. Okay, what I've got here is a wall with this extra little slot in just here. Now, all I need to do is, whoops, I must put this all up the right way. That's it. Now, if I want to just connect it on as well, no problem at all. Okay, and it's not even noticeable. You'd only have to do it to 1 or 2 walls, depending on your complex, or a couple of 3 walls or whatever, depending on where it's going to connect, and that will be fine. And it's not really noticeable in the same way you don't really notice the slots on the terrain anyway. It all blends in, especially once it's all clipped in. So straight away, there's such a simple thing that you can do. You don't even need to measure, okay, because you can just use that as a template. Okay, so compatibility is fine with that. Even if you went down the road of the dungeon and you wanted to go from sci-fi, you go through that, that blast door. My God, this ancient thing that's been preserved, this relic area. Okay, you could then make your way down into this dungeon, as it were. You could use the same technique in order to do that, or just butt them straight up as my first suggestion. So from a compatibility point of view, that's fine. Apart from this clip height here and the thing with the ramps, everything works so fine. All of these here along the top, they're all in exactly the same position. Okay, so they're going to give you the same kind of flexibility with struts and so on and so forth. Okay, so there you go. Let's move those out of the way. Grab my card. Okay, so transition, I've kind of already, sort of started to speak about this, but as you can see already, if you want to transition this Outland to your set, the best way to do it is to use the docking bay, because what you don't want is to have a sci-fi map, a bit like on the older Urban Apocalypse. We had a city and the roads slowly disappeared and ended up into sort of wastelands. You'd expect that in an apocalyptic world, as the dust sort of moves its way into the city. Here, it would be different. You've got a sci-fi building. You wouldn't have sci-fi textures blended in. And so the best way to do it is to butt your mats up against each other, separate it with the walls. Job done then. Okay. Here I'm using the docking bay. Okay. What you can do over this side, I really do need another camera on this side, but what you can do on this side is use the outpost walls to make your external wall and blend it into your docking bay. Or if you're not getting the arrivals bay, if you're not getting the arrivals bay, that's fine. You can still use your docking bays, your docking, your outpost, and you can build your external walls on this side. If you go to the main page, there's a video. We travelled down to see Quinton and the lads from Shut Up and Sit Down, and they played a 4x4 game of Infinity on here. And we did a similar thing. We put the then outpost textures around a sci-fi base in the corner, and the rest of it was covered in shanty mats. So, and that worked really, really well. So you could do exactly the same thing, and again, it's seamless. It transitions straight in. You can imagine that you'd come out here, and look, here it is. Here's the outpost. So transitioning works really, really well, and you don't need to buy another mat in order to do that. Okay, you can just put one set next to the other, stick a door of any kind there, boom, that's it. You walk outside your base, it's right there. Okay. Those of you who are setting up interiors of spaceships, that's completely fine. Basically, you're going to get down either through teleportation, Yeah, or you're going to find some other way for getting down to the surface. And of course, when you land, here you are, your away team, whatever, lands down, and this is what you're faced with. So there's no transition needed in that kind of scenario, which is really, really good. Okay, so let's talk about using this in game. So many games now rely on cover, and so the rules are already kind of set, you know, about what kind of cover you're in. You know, this guy here, he's in, you know, partial cover, he's in 90% cover, you can't see him, you know, and vice versa, or something like that. Okay, so you know, there's always, you know, modifiers, and you can just check your game for that. That's no problem at all. As far as measurements and grids are concerned, the way we've grid, okay, we come back round, the way we've put a grid, the original sci-fi terrain was all just these squares, well, not these ones, but similar 25mm squares all the way through. That's fine, that works really well, because when you are making a move, you can literally, you know, plan your move this way, if that's how you're going to do it. Or, if you're zoning, you can count 3 of those, which is basically 3 inches. There it is, let's see that. You can see, I'm in that zone, I'm in that zone, I'm in that, and so on and so forth. With this one, as you can see, it's a little bit different, because we've broken up the textures to give it a really, really realistic look. And you'll find a lot of places, if you're moving by squares, you can still do that. Once you get to an area like this or this, where in certain areas you can see, we've actually put the squared texture down anyway. But if you get here, you can still see that we've always ended textures butt up against here. So you can clearly see, if I'm going here in a straight line, and I've got a movement of 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, I can see this clearly. And you can't go far on this game map without being lined up and gridded, almost with these imaginary lines. If you're in a room, which you've got over here, you know, you're in a room, you're in a zone anyway, if you're zoning, okay, and if you're in a small room and you're standing like this, you're going to be able to shoot this guy. Let's make no bones about it, okay? So very straight away, you are absolutely sure of where you're going. If you move yourself out onto a shanty map, that might be a little bit different, okay? So if you're here, you haven't got the measure, as it were. Now, I'm a bit old school, but if I can move 4 inches, I tend to do the old base thing, okay? Because that's really flexible for going around corners and things, and that works really, really well as far as kind of measuring. If not, most games have got their little measurers. You know, maybe on the side of a sheet, we'll put a measure, and you can cut it to whatever size it needs for your particular game. And you can just cut that out for one of our sides of our sheets, and you can have that. Or, failing that, you know, look at the things that come. This is an outpost top wall, or you could just use any wall. You know, that is, you know, 10 centimeters. That's 4 squares, pretty much 4 inches. You can, you know, you can just grab. The whole set is designed to be flexible in the fact that it kind of follows the rules of your games anyway. Okay, it's kind of zoned already to the kind of way that we've been playing games for years. Okay, probably because I've been playing those games and it just felt right when I was doing it. Okay, so there's a lot of as far as, you know, using your terrain in game, it's very, very easy to do that. We recently, and you'll get to see the video, I recently popped up to Mantic Games and played a couple of games of Walking Dead with Ronnie, and it was a really good game. And what was really great was we played one game straight from the box, just set up on their map with a couple of little bits of like our scatter, as it were, and then we had a whole full city block, and we grabbed the advanced rules in the back, which are really simple for advanced rules. They're just really quick, and it covered what we needed to know, and we got through that game with no, you know, we had quite a good game. I got slaughtered, but we got there was no issues. We didn't have to house rule anything. And that's based on a very quick to play tabletop game. So this terrain works really, really well with many games. And if you do get stuck, you just make a house rule. Okay, so you know, if there's no elevation in your game and you have to roll 2 dice to hit, maybe you get 3 dice to hit if they're custom dice. Or you know, if you're shooting someone up, maybe you just reduce a dice, as it were. Okay, so without getting game specific, it's very easy to use our terrain in that particular way. Okay, so I guess lastly, oh no, I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to take you around. I'm going to move the camera. I'm going to take you around. I'm going to show you a little bit more of what we've done on this side here as far as compatibility is concerned. So let me just pop you around here. Okay, so looking around here, you can see I've got a very simple setup. Like I said, I haven't got a long enough table, so I'll just let the mat trail off here. We've kind of kept this simple so the camera can sort of come in here to have a look. We've got the control room up here for the docking bay. Okay, we've made a little captain's area here. A little bit more compatibility. These are the steps from the Urban Apocalypse terrain. Okay, so straight away we are using some more things from you know, something different from a different set. Also, not sure how clear it is on the camera here, we're using some of the struts as well from the original Sci-Fi just down here. Okay, that's really good. We've got this really nice little corridor coming on down here, which again is really good. Some of the components from the science research lab. So if I want to go into this level here, I can just release it from this wall over here. I'm just going to pop this up, okay, and I'm going to move that out of the way. Now, in here, I've actually used, oops, try and get this into camera. I've used here for my little captain. I've given him a nice little comfy chair. I've got Urban Apocalypse. I've got the little table and computer there, so there's some compatibility straight away. I'm just going to pop that over here. Okay, so down in here, okay, and I'm just going to move the camera again. Down in here, I've basically got some items again from the Urban Apocalypse. I've set up a little kind of mesh room here with chairs and tables. These little tables actually fixed to the wall so they don't move around or anything. I've got a fridge you can't see there. A little vending machine and things like that. We've got the lockers from the fire station over here. I've got beds here from the police station which look really good as soldier bunks with a kind of little matching mess, you know, sofa as it were. Lockers from the original Sci-Fi, they clip to the walls because all the slots are in the same place. Okay, that clips to the walls. There's a little gap underneath here, but you know, you can't really notice it because it would originally connect to the ramps and got some couple of little chairs and so on and so forth. So again, looking inside there, we've got lots. I've just taken loads of things just scattered around, and I haven't found anything so far that just doesn't seem to, you know, fit together. And I've got a really small setup here. It's really because I haven't got the table space. You know, just to show I've got tons of walls and stuff left over from that setup. Okay, got a load of half walls as well. I could use those half walls to make some of these, you know, little somewhere to jump down, or you know, kind of supports if you want to make long bridges or all sorts of stuff. So you can do that as well. No problem at all. Lastly, a couple of people were just saying about flexibility of items and what you can do with those particular items. I think that the real trick with this terrain is to just mess about with it as much as you possibly can. You know, don't be held back by two things really. Don't be held back by the scenarios of your games. Okay, when you buy a game, don't be held back by the fact that, oh, you know, it says I have to travel this distance and I have to have this room in this place, and if I can't do that with this, that's not what this terrain about. This terrain is about breaking those rules. Those rules are there because, you know, many games come with, you know, the very basic kind of square tiles, which is great because it makes the game affordable, and you put it in a box and it comes out, it's very simple and it gets your game in. That's great, but this is about making it different, making it better. Okay, so with our terrain, don't be held in place by set scenarios. If your scenario says you walk up this really thin corridor and get to this lollipop and you get to this room over here and then that takes you to this room, build it like it would be in real life. Build these stations with rooms next to each other and work your way through those. If your game says you need a 3 foot by 3 foot setup to give you the floor space to have fun games, don't think that it can't be played on a 2 by 2. It absolutely can. And because we're multi-level, what happens is you'll find your game will have as much gaming area because you've got all of the different levels to game in. Plus, you have to be careful. You can't just run across open ground like you can on a 3x3. You're going from room to room. It takes more time. It takes more tactics. And as Ronnie and I found out, it's clever. You have to be really careful in order to survive, basically, and you have to change your tactics from your normal game, which is really good. It makes the games exciting. So first of all, don't be bound by that. Secondly, don't be bound by, I made this a watchtower. Take bits off. Well, hang on a minute. I could probably take the top of this off and just stick it down there, and it will just be a little thing that someone can stand in, another little turret at ground level. I'm sure you could do that. I don't know, I haven't tried it. I'm sure that I could take this and I could remove it off. Let's move that off. Let's take that must just come off of here. Yeah, I could probably just lift that off the top. Okay, I could take that off now. And now I've got this. Let's get rid of those barriers there. I could make myself a pretty cool little barrier like that. I've now got this, which still looks, pretty sizable, as it were. Okay. Yeah, there's a lookout, completely unprotected, but there's a cool lookout. Okay, so just have some experimentation to do. What else can I do? Let me grab this because some of you guys might have seen it in the comments, but. Okay, so I've got our little particle transmitter here. We call it the PT in the comments. I've removed this part here from a reactor chamber, and this then becomes this like containment thing, if you like, and I put that inside there by slotting this bit underneath the front step, and they've got this rather unwell looking guy in there. Okay, so you can mess around with that. I'm sure some of you guys have seen this already in the updates. What else could you do? Well, we can make, why don't we make, we've seen this, haven't we? Oh, hang on, does that fit in there? Oh, there you go, look. Right, we can do that as well. Okay, that looks really good just by itself. But if you want to put that on steroids, we can just have a real mess about with this, and that's pretty good. And you really then got, something else, something new to send your guys up and into. Okay. So have fun. Enjoy the terrain. I know lots of you guys are already enjoying our other 3 sets anyway. This is basically the original Sci-Fi. Just everything we wanted the original Sci-Fi to be, but we weren't quite there yet. So the original Sci-Fi was multi-level. We wanted to do that. That was good. It was multi-level. You could go upstairs, walk down walkways, and have these little room areas. With this terrain, this is true multi-level. Okay, so you go upstairs, you can walk along a walkway, go into a room, and you've got a command centre, and you can lift that up and get to the rooms inside it. Yeah, just like our Urban Apocalypse range, this is everything that the terrain should be. Okay, and so yeah, I think I've covered everything. Thanks again for your support so far, and until the next time, happy gaming.